Now, for more on Iran's direct attack on Israel, joining me is the chairman of the House and Ways and Means Committee, Congressman Jason Smith. Mr. Chairman, thanks very much for joining us. Your reaction?
You know, what Iran did last night just is the direct result, Maria, of Biden's policies and Biden's rhetoric over the last several years as president. And that gave Iran the opportunity that they felt like it could go in and attack one of our greatest allies, Israel.
Yeah, the enabling Iran to generate billions of dollars in oil has created something of a rich country once again. Under President Trump, I don't think they actually had the wherewithal to do this.
Under President Trump, he imposed the strict standards of the sanctions on the Iranians and allowed them where they didn't grow billions of dollars in profits in oil exports. But unfortunately, the Biden administration has reversed course on that, and they have been very lax on those sanctions, allowing the Iranians to grow in more power, more economic growth. And now they're attacking their neighbors.
Let me switch gears, Mr. Chairman. Tomorrow, of course, is tax day. And right before April 15th, we see this watchdog report that the IRS has been targeting people who are making under $200,000 for their audits. Can you tell us why the IRS is targeting those people making $200,000 or less in terms of audits, the majority of audits, 63%?
Maria, we have been trying to sound this alarm for some time. It all started with the Inflation Reduction Act, where the Biden administration asked for an additional $80 billion to supercharge the IRS to hire 87,000 new agents. And guess what? Based on scorekeepers in Congress, it is projected that 87,000 new auditors, 70% of those audits will be on people making less than $75,000 a year. But guess what? The Biden administration, they didn't think $80 billion was enough, so they asked for an additional $43 billion just in their budget this year. And to try to comprehend how big of dollars those are, the IRS, just operating a yearly budget, is less than $15 billion a year.
Mr. Chairman, I'm wondering why you're seeing all of these audits now when the president has repeatedly said that anyone making $400,000 or more or less would not be a target. But you've got this watchdog, the findings of the IRS watchdog, the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, examining this and coming up with 63%.
Yeah, well, the president also said that he wouldn't raise taxes on people making less than $400,000 a year, too, Maria. But in fact, his budget does that. His budget raises taxes more than $7 trillion on people making less than $400,000 will also see a tax increase.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about tax day tomorrow. How much tax revenue are you expecting this year?
So the best way to say is tax day has to be the favorite holiday of Joe Biden, the Democrat Party. You can see by their desire to just continue to raise taxes here and there. When you look at the revenues that we had in the year the year before, it was almost $5 trillion. It was record revenues, Maria. And in fact, those revenues were almost $900 billion more than what the Joint Tax Committee had projected based on passage of the 2017 Trump tax cuts. It showed that helped bring in the revenue. Our country does not have a revenue problem, Maria. Our country has a spending problem.
Yeah. And the spending has sent inflation to 40-year highs. This past week, we got another inflation reading with things like, bread up 30% year over year, flour up 24%. I mean, across the board, Americans are feeling the pinch of inflation. What are your thoughts on the spending package that you all will be looking at this week in terms of sending money to Ukraine?
First off, let's not forget that this inflation crisis, that the inflation's gone up almost 20% since Joe Biden's taken the oath of office, was the direct result of $10 trillion of new spending on top of just funding government that President Biden did with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer when they controlled all three areas of government. That when you look at the spending package that's moving ahead, 5 months ago, Maria, 5 months ago, the House of Representatives passed funding for Israel.
Right.
And the United States Senate has left that bill on the sidelines. They need to pick up and pass that bill. We need to defend and protect and supply funds for our greatest ally in the Middle East.
Yes, it seems that it's going to be attached to money for Ukraine and Taiwan, but we'll be watching your work this week. Congressman, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Maria.
All right, Congressman Jason Smith, chairman of House Ways and Means.